Electricity is something most of us take for granted until the power goes out. That's when Wayne Siverling and his team jump into action to ensure the residents of River Falls have their power back as quickly and as safely as possible. Wayne is the electric superintendent with the City of River Falls, overseeing the electric utility and the city's crew of line workers. Wayne joins this episode of the Kinni Cast to share more about public power and why he enjoys the job so much. He also talks about squirrels and the issues they cause with power lines, shares some safety tips relating to electricity, and much more. Hi everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Kinni Cast. We're going to be talking about electricity and public power today with Wayne Siverling, our electric superintendent. Wayne, how are you today?
I'm good, Tyler. How are you today?
Good. I know it's your first podcast, so excited to be your inaugural one here. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's start with you a little bit and kind of get your background. How did you get into this line of work initially?
It started by visiting our technical college in Chippewa Falls out of Eau Claire, Chippewa Valley Technical College. I started there. Decided this program was what I wanted to do way back in 1990. So dating myself there a little bit. Sure. That's okay.
Yeah. So was there something about this kind of line of work that was most interesting to you?
It was more of being outdoors and working
Sure.
with my hands at the time. I grew up on a dairy farm.
Okay.
That's what I enjoyed doing, from there. So.
Sure. Cool. Well, let's talk about River Falls and the municipal model of public power that we have. From an electricity standpoint, what should the average resident know about what that means and what makes our electric utility unique?
Probably the best way I could say is local control.
Sure.
Local control is you can help shape our city and the utility, with input, through the city parameters. So, and working with the city is a great place to live and work.
Maybe just kind of how that differs from, maybe some of the bigger companies that control the power. What would you say as far as the biggest difference between a municipal electric utility?
I would say that the biggest difference is local control, because you can get someone here at City Hall to get to the line crew, either myself or some of the other teammates, and hopefully have a question answered within a day or less, depending on what your concern is. Some days it takes longer. Everyone's busy too. But,
sure.
But yeah, I think that's the average time frame that I think electric utility here for the city is. So,
now, take us through what your role entails as the electric supervisor.
It varies from day to day, week to week. It depends on a lot of outside variables. Our workload is very unique that way, with the new projects coming online and our normal maintenance that we have planned throughout the city year through our CIP and budgets, but also any outage that may happen can change our daily work load in an instant once outage happens. So,
and one of those things is a power outage that probably throws a wrench into your guys' plans. Take us through that a little bit. What's the typical procedure from the time you're first alerted of the outage to the time the power is restored?
Our after-hours call center, gets those phone calls. We'll let the gentleman that's on call to know that there is a customer that's reporting an outage, or through our automatic metering system, outage management system, small portion of what we have here, we'll also notice that the power has gone out if the meter is out as well. So the call center gets more of the, hey, trees, something going on with our utility infrastructure that we need to be looking at. Mm-hmm. Then our team will go out and look at that from there.
Sure.
So,
and when you get that alert, how do you know, how many guys you might need, or so you're able to identify the issue from that system, or does it take someone getting out there to kind of check it out and see what's going on?
The outage management system that we're kind of using right now alerts us about how many customers are out of power. It's not 100%, but it's really close to 90% of. And our experience with that is we know our system, our mapping system. We can kind of detail what the number of customers are out from there. Then it's like who's on call, where are they at, getting people in after hours. Unfortunately, we're not a public service, fire, EMS, and police. So our team, if we're outside of work, we actually have to leave our families or our home or what we're doing to come into work. So that is a delay on getting into the city here and getting to our outage notification and the areas of town that's out of power.
Yeah. And you mentioned there's always someone on call too, at least one crew member on call, just in case that
Yes.
something like that happens.
Yeah, one call, one person on call 7 days a week,
Sure.
and they rotate throughout the year.
Sure.
So that every day, every holiday, every instances that there's someone answering the phone.
Yeah. And then you talked about that local angle too. I mean, I think when it comes to outages, I'm sure that's a big benefit too, compared to maybe bigger companies where they're, our crews are out there pretty quickly compared to, in some cases, other places. Like I live in Hudson, we don't have municipal power, so it might take hours, it might take a day. I mean, honestly, sometimes, yeah.
You're right. And unfortunately, the outages are sometimes easier to predict than others, depending on the areas. Overhead versus underground, there is a difference in those work practices as well.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, we'll touch on that one in a minute, but I wanted to ask about squirrels, because I know they're maybe one of the biggest causes of power outages. What typically happens when a squirrel is the culprit of an outage?
Well, squirrel, they're very good creatures of finding the weak points of getting into the overhead infrastructure. Typically, it's where they get into, whether it's our overhead lines, and knock on wood as I say this, our substations. That's a bad deal there too. But what they're doing is, when they're up there on a pole, they're just going from the source to grounding themselves out in the circuit, causing the operation of the feeder or system, or opening up a piece of equipment, what we call as a cutout, which is a fused piece of mechanical equipment. So this squirrel usually as a remnants is somewhere close to the incident.
That's how you can tell it's a squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we've had other animals too. And to be clear, we try to do the best with squirrel protection, squirrel guard, to help keep these animals away from our overhead infrastructure. But as we know, they're very smart animals, and they will find a way to get wherever they want to go.
They're pesky.
So they are very pesky.
Do you know what percentage of outages are squirrel related?
We're pretty close to about 40% of our outages are squirrel related or animal related.
Sure.
So, yep.
Well, you alluded to a minute ago the overhead versus underhead, and I know we have both of those here in town. What are maybe some of the biggest differences between overhead power lines and underground power lines? And does the city have any kind of upcoming projects, I guess, to convert some of those overhead ones to underground?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest difference is obviously the overhead infrastructure. We have in the city takes maintenance too, but it's more of you can see the overhead infrastructure as you drive around town. Mm-hmm. Some of it has a lot of trees around it, which is a tree trimming budget item in our budget that we try to take very seriously in maintaining those clearances. Mm-hmm. Again, it is a budget item. We can only do so much with so much money, but the biggest difference is the outage time frame. If it's an overhead outage versus an underground, is much smaller with an overhead outage, just because you can see it and clear it or repair it a lot quicker than you can in underground infrastructure. Sure. Because a lot of that infrastructure is underground, except where it pops up above ground into different pieces of equipment throughout the city.
Right. And what are the kind of the pluses and minuses of, I guess, the underground then too? Well, the maintenance is trickier, you said?
Yeah, it's the maintenance, it's the troubleshooting. If there's an outage on that infrastructure, it takes longer. We do have equipment out there that will help us troubleshoot some of that equipment or try to find different areas that has been affected with this. We call them fault indicators. But they help us get to hopefully an area where this infrastructure has either failed or unfortunately maybe someone has dug into the underground infrastructure, which is never a good situation.
Right. We want to call the Diggers Hotline before you.
Yeah, call Diggers Hotline before you dig. Do the plug. The 3-day notice is very helpful for our utility infrastructure.
Sure. Well, speaking of other equipment, are there other pieces of equipment that our electric utility has that people might pass by every day and not realize what it is or what it's used for? I'm thinking kind of the utility boxes or electric meters or that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of them is the underground utility infrastructure. People mistake that as, at least in some of my conversations, mistake it as it's not underground enough. There's cases where you can bury it even so it's flush level. with the ground. But then you got to look at the work practices, what that takes for our team too. And that's why we have our above ground equipment for the underground infrastructure that seems to work fairly well. People may not like it around their property, but we do need to have it in certain areas to help feed either your meters or your neighbors or customers down the road.
Yeah.
So
What does that look like? Is that just kind of a box?
It can start as a small secondary box, 18 inches by 12 to as large as a 6 by 6 metal clad switch gear in certain cases in different areas of town. So they range from metal clad to fiberglass to plastic, depending on different utility infrastructure that we need.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay, cool. Are there any general electrical safety tips that residents should consider, whether it's maybe at their own home or just throughout town? I know you mentioned tree trimming is probably a big one, but are there others that maybe we haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, I guess, the utility, I want to do a plug here, is overhead lines, you should stay 10 feet away, is a qualified, unqualified rule that we have here with utility systems. So it's probably the most important safety aspect that our customers need to be aware of if and when a line does come down, to stay a minimum of 10 feet away.
Sure.
But probably the other biggest question I get when I'm talking to residents is some don't realize that the overhead lines or underground lines consistently have electricity in them. It's not like your house where you turn on a light switch or you plug in something to plug your computer or any other infrastructure that you may have that you want to plug into. But the electricity is always flowing in those lines, whether it's going to and from different areas of town. Just keep in mind that overhead utility or underground utility is the reason why we ask you to stay 10 feet away.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I would not want to mess with any of those things. Well, we talked about this earlier, but because of the municipal model that we have, our crews are able to respond pretty quickly to outages. How much pride do you and the crew take in just that rapid response time that they have?
I think they take a lot of pride in it. I think they enjoy the model of the municipality world. They enjoy working for River Falls. It is a lot of the conversations I have for the city of River Falls. They also take and go into quite deep detail when they are after hours or during work hours if something takes longer than they feel like it should. But safety is the ultimate important part of restoring and or their current workload. And if it takes them a little longer to do it properly and safely, I and the city is all for their work practices as they're doing their project.
Absolutely. Well, now, Wayne, you've been with the city for over 20 years. What have you enjoyed most about your time with the city of River Falls?
That's a good question. 20 years has come a lot of change, a lot of good change. And what I do enjoy is working with everybody here at the city and working with the residents, our corporate partners. I can't hardly say that there's a bad day that I can really remember. It truly is a really great place to live and work, and I enjoy, typically every day. It can be a little head struggle or a lot of stuff going on. Prioritizing is probably the most important thing to do in this role, but it's an enjoyable place to just get up in the morning, come into work, and then come back the next day.
Yeah. You mentioned a lot of change. Is there much change as far as the electric piece of it, whether it's equipment or technology or any of that sort of stuff since you started?
Yeah, I mean, when I started here at the city, the infrastructure was a lot of older infrastructure where it was a lot of manual work, starting at the meters where they were mechanical meters where, they would drive by and you'd read the meters or hand read the meters to now the infrastructure where they don't have to do that anymore, which helps the outage notifications, but also safety has become more and more evident in our roles. Not that it wasn't when I started here, but it is the ultimate most important thing we do here.
Top priority.
It is.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, last question here, Wayne, and then we'll let you go. This is one that everyone on the podcast gets asked. What impact do you hope your work will have on the people of River Falls?
Oh, good. That's a good question. Impact. I guess as I look at my career here at the city and my impact to the residents and the city personnel, is hopefully I put a smile on someone's face when they think of me.
Sure.
And if that's what I can do in my time frame here, I think that's a positive way to look at my career as I continue it, through everyday work practices. I can't always make everybody happy, but I try to at least get to a common ground where we can all say we did our best every day.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Yeah. Well, a great way to wrap it up as well. So Wayne Siverling, the electric superintendent with the City of River Falls, thanks so much for joining the podcast today.
Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate it.
And thank you to everybody for listening to this episode of the Kinni Cast. If you haven't subscribed yet, hopefully you're able to hit that subscribe button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find all the episodes on our website at rfcity.org. Until next time, have a great day, River Falls.